I think the topic to really cover is the slumping of Kering shares. So as all of you know, and I covered it, it's good to see everyone's doing good. But anyway, I covered it before, right? And basically, Kering shares slumped when Demna was appointed as the creative director of Gucci, which shows that there isn't a lot of confidence, at least in the market, by the people that, are shareholders, in the financial markets. There wasn't a lot of faith in the fact that Demna was actually the right candidate who could really, bolster Gucci out of its financial issues. So there's a great quote from Imran Ahmed from BOF. He said, "The success of the new Gucci strategy rests on one critical question. Can Demna himself move his creativity forward? If Demna simply takes his Vetements and Balenciaga look and implements that at Gucci, it will not work." And that seems to be the question that has led to, a lot of people really questioning whether Demna is the right choice for Gucci. Whether he is or not, personally, I don't really know. I mean, I think that Demna is a super skilled designer. He's worked at many different brands, so I know he's capable of doing many different aesthetics. There are many designers who we thought were, one-trick ponies, and then they've gone to different brands and done something completely different that has been successful. So I don't put that past Demna. But it seems as though a lot of people in the financial markets don't believe that Demna can do that. So as you can see from the chart on the screen, the shares plunged by 12% after his appointment, which is insane. It just shows they're like, no. And it was interesting. BOF did this poll, right? And the question was, can Demna reassert Gucci's fashion authority? And only 10% said yes. That is really surprising to me. 27% said not sure, and a whopping 64% of people said that no, he cannot reassert Gucci's fashion authority. So there's lack of confidence from the general public, the customers. There's lack of confidence coming from the financial markets aside. So let's look at the Financial Times article, because they talk more about how the financial markets are reacting to this and kind of what their thoughts were on the whole thing. So as you can see via the Financial Times, Kering shares slump after Demna named Gucci's creative director. Former Balenciaga designer was appointed to turn around luxury group's biggest brand. Demna Gvasalia, the Georgian-born designer, has been appointed creative director at Gucci, but shares in Kering fell 12% on Friday amid doubts about the luxury group's ability to reinvigorate the brand. Gucci's chief executive, Stefano Cantino, and Francesca Bellettini, deputy CEO of Kering, said this week that Gvasalia, who goes by the professional name Demna, had been the only choice for Kering after 10 years as creative director at Kering Balenciaga. The decision was made without doubt, said Cantino, who worked for 2 decades at Prada and became Gucci's boss last summer. Demna is one of the best creative designers to interpret the contemporary culture. And we can stop there. I definitely agree in the sense that Demna is one of the few designers actually in the modern day that has really been able to, capture the zeitgeist in a way that I haven't really seen for a long time from a designer. That is definitely true. But will that same aesthetic or those same ideas work at Gucci is where everyone is asking the questions, and why that's reflected in all the polls and reflected via the financial market. So I think, yes, he has been able to do that, but it's not appointing fashion creative directors is not that simple. He did well at that brand, so he's going to do well here. It's a bit more complicated than that. It has to be like a fit. The fit actually has to make sense. But reading on. But Kering shares dropped in response to the announcement in early trading on Friday. Lucas Solka, a senior analyst at Bernstein covering global luxury goods, questioned whether Demna was up to the task. "We are not sure that Demna is the right fit for Gucci at the moment," Solka said in a note, adding that the designer's bread and butter street style appeared to have fallen out of fashion. Now, guys in the chat, do you think that Demna's sort of streetwear, post-irony, contemporary consumption, is that falling out of favor? I think that maybe fashion critics are kind of getting tired of it. And at least people like me feel like he's not really asking any more questions. He's not pushing himself as a designer. And because I'm a Demna fan, I just want to see him push himself, which is why that last Balenciaga collection, for example, was extremely disappointing to me. But generally, I don't think that that's falling out of favor with customers and consumers. I don't really think so. I haven't seen per se Balenciaga sales slowing down under Demna beside the scandal. But even with the scandal, things started creeping back up because they were able to keep their audience in Asia, and they kind of had good damage control in Asia where it wasn't taken too seriously. It was taken more seriously in the West, and it was covered by Western news outlets. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that, it's falling out of favor generally, or is it not? Tosin says, with his audience, I don't think so, but overall I would agree. I think he could keep doing it and get away with it. Yeah, I totally agree. Balenciaga hasn't had a hit product in a while. I'm not sure about that. I think Balenciaga has had quite a lot of hit products, especially with the footwear. I don't want to be a broken record, but they have. The steroid boots, how soon is that? But that's a hit. No, I think they've had loads of hits, especially in the accessories. They brought back the City bag. That was a hit. The Rodeo bag, really, I feel like only exploded last year. So that's a recent hit that they've had. I think they've had a lot of recent hits. If I started thinking about it, I think they have. Average people are mostly wearing Lululemon and streetwear, so I don't know if it's falling out of favor. Interesting. The youth that doesn't know any better are going to buy without any second thought, in my opinion. No, because you see that style being ubiquitous across fashion. It's not going away anytime soon, but to people who enjoy fashion and are critical, it's boring. Yeah. I never liked Demna's Balenciaga era. It was such an awful version of the same thing he was doing at Vetements, just with the Balenciaga style. It's popular and that's why I lasted. Nah, I to be fair, I am a fan of Demna's Balenciaga, just not the recent stuff. I like the first, let's say, 10 collections. I thought they were sensational. But after a while, it just got crazy. But yeah, I don't personally think it was all awful. I will say that Balenciaga stores are typically empty when I see them when others are busy. Interesting. So yeah, we'll see. Was he sent to Diet Gucci? This is a perspective I've seen a lot of people talk about, where I've seen some conspiracy theory online where people are saying that they kind of wanted to get rid of Demna, so they're throwing him to the wolves with Gucci, knowing fully well that he won't succeed and then they'll fire him after. I don't believe that. That's a crazy, I don't know where people got that idea from. Yeah, that's crazy. These companies are not, their head is on a stake if they're playing those kind of games with that amount of money, considering that the brand is already, well, the conglomerate in general, being Kering, is actually struggling financially. So no, they're not just doing that. They're not doing that. It's literally the silliest conspiracy theory I've seen online, to be honest. It's quite silly. But reading on the article, overall, we would give this appointment a 5 out of 10. That's crazy, he added. But we understand their risk minimization strategy going for the well-known. The appointment, announced on Thursday, was a bold decision for a company trying to turn around its performance amid a downturn in the luxury goods sector. Gucci accounts for about half of group sales and 2/3 of profits at Kering. So once again, I know I say this all the time, but there's new people that, come to these streams every time. Balenciaga is nowhere near the size of Gucci. For some reason, people think that, why would he go to Gucci? Balenciaga is a bigger brand. No, it's not. Read the financial reports. Gucci accounts for about half of the group sales and 2/3 of the profits at Kering. So any of the money, any of the financial, success that Kering has is very closely tied to what goes on at Gucci, and that's it. It doesn't matter what the sales of irrelevant Balenciaga are if Gucci is not doing well. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. So let's read on. The brand sales declined 21% on a reported basis to 7.7 billion euros between 2023 and 2024, while operating income for the full year fell 51%, oh my god, to 1.6 billion euros. Kering hopes Demna will revitalize Gucci following last month's departure of Sabato De Sarno, who had been its creative head for only 2 years. Demna will take up the role in July. Of course, I've mentioned this before, but we are also seeing Demna's last Balenciaga show in July, which will be a couture collection. So that should be interesting. The luxury group has been under pressure to find a name designer for Gucci after elevating De Sarno from Valentino, where he was an unknown studio head in the top position. Jefferies analyst on Friday said the share price reaction probably reflected investor surprise at the appointment, adding, speculation had been rife in fashion circles about the potential appointment of other designer heavyweights external to the group. Demna enjoyed phenomenal success at Balenciaga with an offering that spanned both couture and popular streetwear. Kering does not break out individual earnings, but under Demna, Balenciaga became the fastest growing brand in the portfolio. Among his best sellers were the giant platform Triple S sneakers, those went crazy, which sell for £825, and the sock-footed speed trainers. He also had considerable success with bags, including the Rodeo, which retails for more than $2,000, and Le City from the 2000s, which he revived last year. Yeah, I kind of alluded to that. I think when someone mentioned that he hasn't had, hit products in a while. Of course, the, speed trainers and the Triple S's are like from a while ago, but the Rodeo is a bit more recent, and the City bag is more recent too. His tenure, however, has not been without controversy. Yeah, let's skip that because we know what happened with the controversy. We've kind of over-covered that. I think the reason why I wanted to read this article is really to see what the analysts have to say. Zuzana Push, an analyst at UBS, said, clearly the market was hoping for a high-profile external hire from another large fashion house. No one had expected that Kering would make an internal hire, especially not Demna. Wow, these analysts really don't believe in Demna. It's really insane. They're just not feeling it at all. At all. They're really not feeling it. It's crazy, actually. It's really, really crazy. She added that the combination of that prior excitement and well-known controversy around Demna are seen as a disappointment to investors, which increases the risk of Gucci's ongoing turnaround. Kering this week brushed off the reputational risk associated with the appointment, insisting that new checks and training systems within the company meant that such crisis could not happen again. Oh my God. So they've already put in checks and balances to make sure that Demna is not going to be on his weirdo shit, and to make sure that he doesn't do anything that could, be to the detriment of the branding of Gucci. That's hilarious. I feel like from now on, Demna is going to be babysat, especially when it comes to campaigns, because I feel like a lot of these companies are a bit concerned and scared with what Demna is going to do campaign-wise, so they have to have all these checks and balances, which is fair enough. I don't know why Balenciaga didn't have those before the scandal even happened. So it's good to see that luxury brands are learning from the mistake of one, because it's the same group. I mean, it's Kering, so they've learned from the internal happenings that would have happened at Balenciaga, and they are, of course, going to bring that to Gucci while Demna is there. But it's insane that they literally said, yeah, we have new checks and training systems to make sure that doesn't arise in Gucci. But reading on, Demna arrives at a brand sorely in need of a change in fortunes. Under Alessandro Michele, its creative director from 2015 to 2022, Gucci's revenues tripled to more than 10.5 billion euros. However, his successor Stefano delivered only 6 collections before his departure was announced in February. Speaking to the Financial Times last month, Erwin Ramborg, Global Head of Consumer and Retail Equity Research at HSBC, estimated that it would take at least 3 years for even the most successful reset to deliver. Oh, so wow. So the financial analysts are essentially predicting that a minimum of 3 years is required for any sort of, financial revamp, which is hilarious, because one of the reasons they parted with Alessandro Michele was because they wanted him to kind of pivot more towards a Tom Ford mixed with quite luxury aesthetic, because they could see that that's what was trending and there was a slight slowdown in luxury. What they didn't realize is that there was an overall slowdown in luxury. LVMH had issues, Kering had issues. The only group that really didn't have financial issues was Prada Group. They were the only group that seemed to weather the storm during a mainstream luxury downturn. So they parted ways, panicking, not considering that we literally just went through COVID and a whole pandemic where no company really had good performance anyway. And they jumped the gun, parted ways with Alessandro Michele, who literally brought them to 10.5 billion euros in revenue. And with Sabato De Sarno, it went down 21%. So let that be a lesson. Let that be a lesson to all these conglomerates and, these analysts for these conglomerates, that when you see an overall luxury downturn, you shouldn't panic, because it's more a sign of the overall luxury market, not that there was anything inherently wrong with Gucci or inherently wrong with, what Alessandro Michele was doing financially. So let that be a lesson. And I'm sure many other conglomerates and brands are definitely learning and have definitely learnt about from it, at least. Are you curious? Also, thoughts and prayers for Gucci? No, I'm not wearing a Balenciaga cap. I've actually never bought or owned anything from Balenciaga before, to be fair. But no, this is a Haven Court cap. Shout out to Keezy. But yeah, it's Haven Court. It's not Balenciaga. But all they care about is growth, growth, growth. I think also a lot of these conglomerates need to realize that continued growth into the sunset forever is not possible. It's literally impossible. Everything will stop growing at some point. It's literally just like mathematics. If every single member of the population is one of your customers, which can never happen because I mean part of the population are newborn kids and stuff like that. It's not like they're making money. So it just gets to a point where you literally exhaust every customer base, and then it will get to a point where you literally cannot make more money. So that means that there will always forever be a cap on how much money they can actually make. And the quicker they realize that, the better, because they have this thing where shares always need to increase. We always need to grow forever. It's mathematically impossible for you to continue growing forever. It's literally impossible. Like the numbers, suggest that is not possible. So at some point, things will come down, which is why, in my opinion, I think that these conglomerates always need to make decisions that, are good for the health of the conglomerate in the long term. But I see a lot, especially with Kering recently, everything seems to be a short-term decision. And I think that's their biggest issue. Everything is too short-term, what's happening now, and all those kind of things, to be honest. So yeah. Could have been Eddie Salmon doing Gucci. See how he did Celine. Profit speaks. Too bad 10% of cheering Demna to Gucci must be Pinot family. Demna being at Gucci shows Kering still hold grudges of Eddie. Yeah, I mean, also, there's many reasons why Eddie Salmon wouldn't go there. I thought he would go there because I obviously made my video about why I think he's the best fit for Gucci, and I still believe that. I think Eddie Salmon is a way better fit than Demna, like night and day, because Adi Simon can sell more things than clothes, whereas Demna hasn't proven to me that he can do that. Like Eddie Simon literally revamps whole fragrance lines. He did that at Dior. Dior Privé is still one of the most celebrated, private lines for a luxury brand. He did that at Celine. Gucci, their fragrance line, no one really cares. Adi Simon could really come in and change the fragrance line. And I mean, fragrances and beauty in general makes bucket loads of money for companies. Demna hasn't shown or proven to me in any regard that he can sell, beauty products at scale. So, and this is like big boy group stuff. This is not, once again, Balenciaga is tiny. Eddie Simon has done this, brands that are bigger. He's done it, the likes of YSL. He's done it at Dior. Even Celine, they had insane growth when Adi Simon was there, even though it wasn't one of the, huge LVMH brands. He turned it into one. And I've talked about the financial performance under Adi Simon at Celine. So financially, branding-wise, selling-wise, commerce-wise, marketing-wise, Adi Simon is just way better than Demna for a big house like Gucci. The only thing is that obviously they had the lawsuits. He sued Kering twice and won, rightfully so. And I've talked about the details of those lawsuits in the past. So there could be a grudge there. And then also, Adi Simon himself has said that he mainly only wants to design for French brands, which is why he's only designed at French brands, right? The Celines, the YSLs, So it makes sense. The Dior's, it makes sense. But I thought that Adi Simon, if you throw enough money, like if the deal is right, he might change his mind on that. But clearly not. Clearly not. But yeah, I just don't think that, Demna can do all of that. Like Demna is not all in one package the way that Eddie Simon is, basically. Which is why I just don't think that he's a good enough candidate for a brand like the only thing that I know Demna can sell is ready-to-wear. But ready-to-wear doesn't make the most money for most brands, which is why Balenciaga, even though this is actually the reason why people think that Balenciaga is bigger than Gucci, because Balenciaga sells so much ready-to-wear. But ready-to-wear doesn't move the needle financially, which is why Balenciaga will never make close to the amount of money that Gucci does, because Gucci exists in so many different product segments, right? So, and I just don't, there's no track record of, there's no track record of Demna being able to do that. Not saying that he can't, but the track record isn't there the way it is with Adi Simon, which is why I thought he would be a better candidate. Willie said, I'm old enough to remember what the reaction was when Martin Margiela did Hermes. Looking back, it was his best work. To be fair, Willie, I know you would have been there. Like, you would have seen all the reactions. That was slightly before my time. However, obviously, I just look at stuff in hindsight and I'm like, yeah, Margiela Hermes was amazing. Of course, I have the book, the Hermes years. But that's interesting. that there was a bad reaction to Martin going to Hermes. Probably the same as what was something kind of what I remember is when Raf Simons was going to Jill Sander. The reason why there was such a bad reaction to Raf Simons going to Jill Sander was because he was known as the guy that made menswear that was cool, and the youth really liked it, and it was inspired by, you know, a lot of British bands and youth subcultures. That was like early Raf Simons work. And how is this guy going to design elegant women's wear at Jill Sander? Like, he had no track record at that point in time of designing women's wear to any high level. But I loved Raf Simons at Jill Sander. I thought that was amazing, but kind of similar to what you're saying with Margiela Hermes. Raf Simons at Jill Sander, it was seen that same way. It's like, he can't design women's wear. All he does is design all this youth subculture menswear for like really cool young kids and young boys. But how do we know that he can, you know, design women's wear? And he totally proved everyone wrong. And that's why I think actually that tenure is the reason why Raf Simons is as well respected as he is, because he kind of silenced all the critics that used to say that he couldn't design women's wear. So yeah, makes sense. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. I'm kind of going on a fashion history tangent right now. So yeah, but yeah, that's kind of the story around the whole Kering shares slumping. But I'm looking forward to what Demna does. I wish him all the best. I don't actually wish for any designers to not do well. So I wish Demna all the best as a fan of his. And I'm curious to see exactly what he does and to see if he really can save Gucci from its issues. So yeah, this YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind the scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.